With that, we have Riley. There's Riley. She's going to come up, and we have our District 5400 governor, and she's going to introduce him.
Yeah, Riley.
All right, I'm super excited to introduce you all to a man that survived a plane crash, then wrote a book about it called How to Get Where We're Going. Well, how to get where you want to go, sorry. He was outstanding teen of Idaho when he was a teenager. He has been married to his wife, Kathy, for 39 years. They have 4 boys, 12 grandchildren that they love dearly. He broke his arm in 2 different places, and when Saeed found out about this, he said, "Don't go back to those 2 places." So please help me give a big RYLA welcome to the District 5400 District Governor, Rich Kirkham.
Hey, stand up! What? I think it's this one. Whoa! Thank you. Little Charlie Daniels there. I love Charlie Daniels. He's a great fiddle player, and he kind of gets you going. So I hope you enjoyed that. My name is Rich Kirkham, and as they said, I'm the district governor, and I'm here to give you a warm Rotary welcome to RYLA. We're hosting you at this event, and we hope that you love this experience. I want you to know that I love RYLA, and I love all of you for being here. I really do. Even though I don't know you, this event will change your lives. What's this? Oh, thank you. See, I need to learn. Thank you. I think that what RYLA stands for is Rotary Youth Leadership. Awesomeness. What did you say? Awesomeness. Yes, Rotary Youth Leadership Awesomeness. It's a great thing. As you were told, Rotary is a worldwide organization. We have 1.2 million members all over the world. We're in almost every country, 33,000 of us. Here in Idaho, I am the governor over 1,744 members. We're in 33 clubs, 44 clubs, all over Oregon and Idaho. And we have one motto that ties us all together. Does anybody know what that is? Service above self. That's right, service above self. This is a great motto, and I love this wonderful motto. It reminds me that we want to give service above everything else to our families, to each other, to our communities, to the world. It's all about service. We're going to talk about that, but in addition to our motto, we also have a theme every year. And this year's theme is Rotary Connects the World. And part of the reason that you're here at RYLA is to connect with each other, to make new friends, and to find out things and to learn from one another so that you can then go out and connect the world. This is enough for that for now. This is my fiddle. I love this fiddle. It's just really fun. I brought my fiddle with me and play a little more Charlie Daniels. Would you like to hear me play the fiddle? Yeah! All right, okay. So this is me when I was in high school. I started playing violin when I was in the 4th grade, and I really love the instrument. It's a really beautiful instrument. So I'm going to get it out. Oh no. Oh no. I brought the wrong violin. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is also a violin that I own, and I love it very much. But as you can see, it has no strings. It has no frog. It has no bridge, no frog, no chin rest. A lot of people would say that this was a worthless violin. It has no voice. Am I right? No, you're right. It does have a voice. Because you know what? There was an artist who saw this old violin and decided it really did have value. And she took this and she painted it with this beautiful scene, and she gave it a new voice. And I love this because on the back, she has written a poem. Well, it's one of my favorite poems. It's called The Touch of the Master's Hand. It's a poem that I learned when I was your age, and I still remember it. It goes something like this. Oh, I wanted to tell you where I got this violin. So I went to an auction in Pocatello. It was I'm looking at the slides that you're seeing up here. So when I keep looking back there, you know what I'm doing, okay? Everybody's looking back there like, who's coming in the door? That's amazing. And so this beautiful violin here was done by an artist, and she's covered it with glass. And this one, I think, is also a very beautiful violin. It has the strings, but no bridge. And of course, this is my violin. Anyway, this is that great poem that I learned when I was your age. It goes like this. It was battered and scarred. And the old auctioneer, he thought it was scarcely worth his while to waste his time on an old violin, but he held it up with a smile. What am I to bid for this old violin? Who'll start the bidding for me? $1, $2. Now, who will make it $3? $3 once, $3 twice. Going, said he. And then, far from the back, a gray-haired old man came forward, and he picked up the bow. And tightening the strings of the old violin, he held it up just so, and he played a melody, pure and sweet. Sweet as the caroling angels sing. Well, when the auctioneer finished, or when the old man finished, the auctioneer this time, in a voice that was quiet and low, said, now, what am I to bid for this old violin? And he held it up with the bow. $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, said he. 3,000 once, 3,000 twice. Going, and gone, said he. Well, the people cheered, but some of them cried, I'm afraid we don't quite understand. What changed its worth? Quick came the reply, the touch of a master's hand. And many a man with his life out of tune is battered, and he's scarred with sin. He's auctioned cheap to a thoughtless crowd, much like this old violin. A mess of pottage, a cup of wine, a game, and he travels on. He's going once. He's going twice. He's going. He's almost gone. And then the master comes. And the thoughtless crowd never can quite understand the worth of a soul and the change that is wrought by the touch of a master's hand. Who is the master in this great poem? Well, the poem itself, it kind of gives us a little bit of a hint. It says, a gray-haired old man came forward and picked up the bow. I think it was a Rotarian. What do you think? You know, we are all masters of something, each one of us. And one of the things I love about Rotarians is that they always say yes whenever they're asked to do anything. They say yes even though their schedules are full, their calendars are full, and they haven't got the time, but they do still say yes. And that's because when you say yes to service, you're going to find yourself. And so we're going to practice this. Will everybody say this with me? Say yes. Yes. Oh, come on, that was terrible. Say yes. Yes. All right, I love that. I'm going to tell you a story about saying yes. This is a guy, true story by the way, 20 years ago in England, Danny Wallace. He had just come off a divorce. He was really into himself, and he was starting to, I guess, go off of the deep end in loneliness and despair. And he got on a bus, and a complete stranger said to Danny, you need to say yes more. So Danny pondered that, and he thought, you know, I think I might just try a little experiment. And so Danny decided for 1 year he was going to say yes to everything. He said yes to pamphleteers. He said yes to Visa card, credit card applications. He said yes to internet offers. He said yes to attend meetings with a group who believed aliens built the pyramids. He said yes when people wanted to go out on the town, something he never did. And he said yes when he got assignments at work, and he furthered his career. And after 1 year of saying yes, saying what? Yes! After saying yes, he was a totally different person. He wrote a book, and it's called Yes Man, a memoir of his experiences of saying yes. Very funny book, very, very enchanting. And it tells you the importance of saying yes. And I don't want you guys to say yes to everything. You know, there are things out there you need to say no to. Am I right? Dangerous things, drugs, alcohol, violent behavior, things that are destructive. You can say no to those things. But when it comes to service, what are you going to say? Yes! All right. I love this group. Oh, yeah, you want to say yes. And there are times when you're going to say yes that you don't really feel yes inside. You want to say no. But I can tell you from my own experiences that when I've said yes, it's taken me to some of the most wonderful places I've ever been. And I've met some of the greatest people I've ever met. In fact, this reminds me, I think this is a selfie moment. So I got to get this out, and we're going to do this. Have you ever seen an old Rotarian take a selfie? This is hilarious. Just say yes. Yeah, okay. All right, everybody stand up. And on 3, I want you to say yes. 1, 2, 3. Yes! Well, with your hands up like this. Yes! All right, thank you so much. So you too can be a master violin player, right? You can help an old violin find its voice. Somebody needs a new voice. You can touch them. You can do that here at RYLA. You can change it it can be so simple. I'm going to show you how simple it is. You can change somebody's life. You can change somebody's day with a fist bump and a smile. Am I right? Now I'm going to tell you a story. About 4 months ago, I had a cold. And you know, people always come up to you, they go, how you doing? And you don't want to shake their hand because you got a cold, but you don't want to really explain all that. And so I just started doing the old fist bump thing, right? And so I would go up to people and they would put out their hand and I'd say, knuckle bump. And sometimes, you know, they'd just knuckle bump me back. And other times they'd look at me like, what? And I would say, I'm just trying to change the world one knuckle bump at a time. And so I would do that, and I went actually to Boise, and my nephew was over there. He's 7 years old, very bright young man. And he was out in the car, and so I went out and I said, Osti, give me a knuckle bump. And I put my hand in the car, and he looks at me like he'd never seen a knuckle bump before. And I said, I'm just trying to change the world, one knuckle bump at a time. And he goes like this, real timid. And I go, great, thanks. And I kind of backed away because he was freaked out by that knuckle bump. Anyway, he and his mom, they took off. And Osti is one of those boys, he talks all the time, incessantly. But for 5 minutes, he didn't say a word. And so his mom kind of wondered what was going on. And she said, Osti, what's going on back there in the back? Nothing. She goes, what are you doing? Thinking. What are you thinking about? Well, do you think Uncle Richard really can change the world one knuckle bump at a time? Anyway, I think that's what we do with a smile, with a knuckle bump, with a friendly gesture. That's service. And you can give that, and it doesn't cost you anything. So it's a way to connect. And we're going to try a little experiment right now. I've never done this before, so I'm going to kind of walk you through it. My vision in my head, I've seen it. I'm going to give a knuckle bump to one person in here. You can be my volunteer. Come on up. Thank you. Well, come on up. So here's the way this is going to, we're going to play this. In a second, I'm going to ask you all to stand up, except for whoever's in the wheelchair. You can stay seated. It's okay. And when we do the knuckle bump, we're going to say yes. Yes. Right? What are we going to say? Okay, we're going to say yes. But we're going to say it as loud as we can. Now, here's the rules of the game. I'm going to knuckle bump him, and then I'm going to knuckle bump one other person, and then we'll sit down. Okay, we'll only do 2. But whoever we touch, you're going to knuckle bump 2 more people, and then you say yes when you knuckle bump, right? You following this? And then sit down after you've done 2. And let's just see how long. Kathy, my wife, stand up. She's got the timer. We're going to see how long it takes to change the whole room. So everybody stand up. Everybody. Okay, are you ready? Ready. Yes. Are you ready? Yes. All right, here we go. Yes. 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 2. Yes. All right, time. How long did that take? We changed the room in 38 seconds. Yeah! All right. I love that. Okay, I'm going to conclude. I want to tell you one last story. This is about a man who, like my violin, he had his strings and had his voice. And then he lost that. He lost all that. He lost his voice, and then he got his voice back again. And that man changed my life. His name is Chad Hymas. So you might have heard of Chad. He was really quite an athlete when he was young. He was a real handsome guy. He had a beautiful wife, 2 lovely children. He really had the world by the tail. This was an awesome guy, and he had the dream. And his dream was to become a farmer, believe it or not. He wanted to have an elk farm and raise elk. And he wanted to move about as far away from people as he could go because he didn't really care much for people. What he really liked was animals. And he loved nature. And so he just wanted to go far away where he didn't really have to deal with a world of people. Well, one day when Chad was going about the business of his dream, he was out putting hay up with his tractor. And he had a 1-ton bale of hay on the front of that on his forks. Now, this is something that he'd done hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times. And so he was loading that on a trailer, and he lifted up the bale of hay high above his head and put it on the trailer. And then all of a sudden, something went terribly, terribly wrong. Chad looked up, and that 1-ton bale of hay was coming backwards over the trailer, and it came down, and it landed right on his head and crushed him underneath 1-ton mountain of hay. Well, some people say that Chad was lucky to have survived that. He was airlifted to a nearby hospital, 8 hours of surgery, titanium rod stuck down his neck, broken bones, and worst of all, when he came to consciousness, he couldn't feel anything from his shoulders down. That was a tragedy. Well, Chad was, he felt pretty bad about all of that. He actually felt quite worthless, and he became very self-absorbed, as you might imagine in that circumstance. You could see every dream, every goal, every ambition in his life was taken away. And there he was, stuck in a hospital bed. He had more mental pain than he had physical pain. Have you ever felt worthless? Have you ever felt like you wanted to die? Maybe you can identify a little bit with what Chad was feeling. Well, in the midst of his despair and his depression, his father came and visited him in the hospital. And he said, "Chad, how long are you going to go on like this? How long are you going to keep thinking about yourself?" He says, "You know, you've got other things to worry about. This is not about you." Well, you know, that made Chad mad. Really. He was angry with his father. All he wanted was to have somebody make everything right again, like it used to be. Turn the clock backwards so he could crawl back up on that tractor and just try loading that bale of hay one more time. But his dad couldn't do that. Nobody could do that. Things were the way they were. And Chad knew that his dad was right. Chad knew he had a sweet wife at home, 2 little boys, and that he had a responsibility. He had to figure out some way to provide for this little family. So he had to stop thinking about himself. And that's really a pretty tall order when you can't raise a spoon to your mouth, you can't put on your own shoes, you can't open a door. But Chad had to find a way to overcome his adversity so he could go help others overcome theirs. So, as a quadriplegic, Chad had to learn a lot of new skills. He had to learn to brush his teeth without the use of his fingers. He had to learn to put on his pants without being able to lift his legs. He had to learn how to catch a basketball so he could play ball with his sons when he couldn't catch a ball. And he had to learn how to be intimate with his wife when he couldn't feel anything from his neck down. But he learned all those things and much more. Chad he had an interesting epiphany. He realized that he had nothing to work with except what was from here up. And that left him essentially 2 things. It left him a voice and it left him a mind. And so he decided to use his voice to help others overcome their difficulties. Well, the fiddle would no longer work for him, but he did have a voice. And he found this new voice, sort of like my violin. What do you think his message was? It was to forget about yourself and to go and do good for others. And Chad continues to share that. I want to share this beautiful video with you to conclude. Listen to the song.
There are times when you might feel aimless and can't see the places where you belong, but you will find that there is a purpose. It's been there within you all along, and when you're near it, you can almost hear it. It's like a symphony. Just keep listening, and pretty soon you'll start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece, and there are melodies in each one of us. Oh, it's glorious. And you will know how to let it ring out as you discover who you are. Others around you will start to wake up to the sounds that are in their hearts. It's so amazing what we're all creating. It's like a symphony. Just keep listening, and pretty soon you'll start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece, and there are melodies in each one of us. Oh, it's glorious. And as you feel the notes build, you will see. It's like a symphony. Just keep listening, and pretty soon you'll start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece, and there are melodies in each one of us. Oh, it's glorious.
Chad Hymas, he changed my life. It's like a symphony. Just keep listening. And pretty soon, you'll start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece. And there are melodies inside of each of us. It's glorious. After I heard Chad's talk, the first thing I wanted to do was never forget this message. And so I made me up a screensaver. I still have it. Every time you open my phone, it says, just say yes, because it's not about you. And I'm telling you, that's been valuable. I probably look at that thing 20, 30 times a day. And I can't tell you how many times Chad has whispered in my ears to do the right thing and serve other people. So did you like the story of Chad Hymas? Yes! Good. Are you going to make some new friends while you're here at RYLA? Yes! Good. Are you going to help someone else find their voice? Yes! Are you going to leave here a changed person? Yes! Great. It's been a pleasure for me to be with you. It's awesome to be here at RYLA. Yes! All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. It's awesome. That was awesome.
All right, can we give one more round of applause for Rich and all the Rotary?
It's like a symphony. Just keep listening, and pretty soon you'll start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece.